Welcome to the Production Masters Podcast, the philosophies and techniques behind making music according to the masters of music production. What's that device you've got by your hand in there? Is that an analog EQ with all the really big knobs on it by your other hand? Yeah, that.
That is the fabulous Mazalek MLA4. When I saw what Leif Massis had produced, I said, I have to have this. It's the first and only multi-band, 3-band in this case, super high quality analog dynamics processor that has both compression or downward compression and upward expansion in 3 different bands. I can set the ratio. I'm going to point the camera down.
Yeah.
So you can see. But I didn't load up the Logitech zoom control, so you just see you can't see the details, but you can, insert maybe a photo
that's good.
It.
We can see what's happening.
Yeah, well, kinda. Okay, it's got a very sweet sound, very warm quality while still being transparent. And in this band, I could set up to 4 different compression ratios and up to 4 different expansion ratios. There's 3 master thresholds, big knobs here.
Yeah.
All of them detented, 1 dB per step, so you can totally restore it. And over here on the left is a master threshold. So if I am doing one song and another song is very similar, but I just want to change the compression or the expansion without doing anything fancy, I can just change the master threshold, which becomes an offset for all the other 3.
Sure.
I can do compression on 2 bands and expansion on another, or vice versa, or any combination of the above. There's a what he calls the boost switch, which will put a high frequency equalizer in the side chain for the 3rd band to be used as a de-esser or sibilance controller, or to soften some cymbals if I want. It'll basically exaggerate the high end of the high end.
Yeah.
And there's a crossover, 3-band crossover, and it's what we call, it's a 6 dB per octave slope, so it's very, very gentle. You could use it as an equalizer, but I don't. And there's the master output in half dB steps. It's unique. There's nothing like this in the analog world, and it sounds very nice. So, and of course, yes.
And is it a tube processor?
No, it's a very nice solid state. Doesn't have any harshness at all. It's very warm.
So aside from whatever you're actually wanting to do dynamically, do you like what it does just by the signal going through it as well?
That's right. So, if I wanted the most subtle of quality changes, I could pass it through it, set at unity gain. There's a lot of processors in my rack. We could turn the camera around and look at the rack if you want.
Why not?
Why not? That's the way you want to start it? All right, then
Sure.
We're going to have to. Okay, so again, I did not get the zoom control for this camera.
That's all right. And part of engineering is improvising, isn't it? So.
Okay, so we are improvising. I'm getting up. I'm going to turn the camera around. You can talk to me, and you can hear me at a distance from this mic.
So when you first got the Mazalek, did you experiment just running signal through it and bypassing it at unity and trying to pick up the subtle nuances with it?
Oh, well, it all came along as part of the mastering process. When I was, getting sound, I would, oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Okay. Well, let's start over here on the left where you can see the, okay, there we go. Oh, okay. So, what was I going to answer? So I just, well, during the process of mastering and getting sound, I could say, hey, this has a certain character. It's very warm. And I said, well, let's just neutralize it, set everything to 1-to-1 ratio and see what it sounds like. And I could say, okay, its character is warm but transparent. And that's the way all the Mazalek gear is. Very, very nice.
Sure.
Here is monitor, a video monitor of my audio monitoring. My I have a very sophisticated FIR monitor controller that corrects the sound for the loudspeakers, does the crossovers, the routing, even selects inputs and so on.
That's cool.
And a remote control for it here.
We can go into that in depth a little bit later, yeah.
Say what?
Oh, I said I would like to talk in more depth about that a bit later. Yeah, about the room correction you've got going on.
Okay. And then next thing over is the Avocet remote for analog monitoring. It's a 1 dB per step monitor controller. So I have both analog and digital monitor control if I need it or want it. The Avocet these days I use for soloing individual loudspeakers, which is a function that's not built into the digital monitor controller. And then over here is the remote for the TC Electronic System 6000, and it's fully loaded. It's got everything that you could imagine that you'd want, both in stereo and surround. And then below it is the MLA4 that we just talked about.
Yep.
And then over here on the left side of the rack, on top is the, believe it or not, this name is just crazy. It's called Better Maker. That's their name. Why not? I discovered it when I was looking for a digitally controlled analog EQ with good sound. Yeah. And this is only one of 3 in the world. One of them actually is no longer made. And that was the one that I got rid of about a couple or 3 years ago. But the Better Maker is a very transparent EQ with a few tricks, including a full pull text section, which I like a lot.
Wow. That's a new addition for you, is it, I think, as well?
I'm looking at what's in the rack here. Some things I've had for a few years. The Better Maker I've had for about 2 or 3 years. Right. I was the first, not the first, the second or third mastering engineer in the U.S. to get this. It's not an inexpensive piece. It's quite serious.
Yeah.
At one point in my mastering, when I was doing a lot of dominant digital processing with some analog processing, I would send a MIDI control signal, program change signal. Actually, they do it by Systex, but program change signal to the Better Maker, and it would change from memory to memory, from song to song. And nowadays, I'll manually switch it from memory to memory as I work from song to song, because the Mazalek pieces are not automatable, and every song gets a different EQ. So I'll usually take notes and then do recall and then move to the next song and listen to the end of the previous song going into the next one to make sure that works well the way I want it, and then capture the next song and so on.
Yep.
If they have to be segued or crossed over or crossfade, I have ways of dealing with that. So I can do that as well if I need to. Then this is the Dangerous Backs EQ from Dangerous Music. It's a back Sandal equalizer, very, very pure sound, very transparent. I'm using that word a lot today. But the next piece in line is far from what I would call transparent, but it's the API 2500 compressor, which I'll tend to use when I'm looking to help get some attitude in a rock sound. The next piece here is the Animod ATS-1 analog tape simulator. I may use this once every couple of months. It's great for tape, and it's better than any of the plugins. Then below that is a router that routes all the analog gear.
Yep.
It has some MS available in it as well. The man who I partnered with to produce this is no longer, I don't know if he's passed away, but he's no longer on the net. We can't find him. We made about 10 or 12 of these pieces. This is called the IJ Research K1 Mastering Transfer Console.
Right.
And it can insert, it has gold contact relays. And the neat thing about it is it has digital memories. So I can take up to 16 different patching setups. And that's not even enough for me, but usually I work from a list and I'll say, okay, let's load this patch. And then when I load it, I'll say, well, I do something different than this, so I'll base it on that patch. And then, but it beats patch chords and it sounds, and it doesn't have a sound. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, okay. Oh, isn't that nice? You can see, not too badly, except that the microphone is in the way.
No, it's good on my screen.
No, I'm talking about when I want to tilt down.
Right.
Okay. So on top is the Pendulum ES8. It's a variable mu tube compressor with transformers and character, lots of character, warmth and fatness, all those other nice things. And below it is a custom built by me with modules from Steve Furlot. He has his company name will come back to me. It's got 2 output transformers that I can bypass. And this is a blender. This is Bob's blender. It can be used for parallel compression or just to change the tone. Can you hear that? No, you can't hear that. But it's got hand-built by me 1 dB per step attenuators on the dry and the wet signal.
Right.
So if I want to have something with some of the character of the pendulum, I could, for example, turn down the wet signal from the pendulums to -6 and the dry to -6, and then the sound is less of the tubes and more of the direct sound.
Yeah,
or
sure.
I could add the transformers or take them away and so on.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's the best way to do parallel compression. I don't approve of any of the plug-in devices that use percentage for wet and dry. It just sucks. It's not human, and it wastes your time, wastes your valuable time. Parallel compression and wet-dry mixes should be just like a fader on your console. That's the way it should be done.
Or a big detented pot.
Like this.
Yeah.
And this is a custom built by me detented pot. If we were to open this up, you'd see about you would see 26 resistors carefully mounted on a very high quality gold plated switch.
I think I remember seeing this on social media when you were soldering this thing together, maybe.
Yeah, and it's all done. It's beautiful.
Well, and it looks very aesthetically nice and pleasing to look at as well, I've got to say.
Very simple. It's just a nice rack mount box with there. Now you got all 4 lights lit. I can take it out completely with one button or put it in. When I take it out, that means that it's just the pendulum direct.
Yep.
So I could compare the sound of the pendulum direct to a mix of the pendulum with the dry and decide and then set the gains so that they match and then switch back and forth and decide which I like better. Or if the pendulum is off, I could just simply use it as a little transformer coloration or take the transformer coloration out or any of any combinations.
Yeah, yeah.
And then below it is another beautiful Mazalek piece. This is Mazalek's MEA2. It's a 4-band detented. Can hear these. No, you can't unless I turn the mic around and you can hear the knobs. Every band, half dB steps, 4 bands of EQ, tons of overlapping frequencies,
yep.
and very selectable Q for each band. And what he does nicely is every one of the shapes of the bands is musical.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to make this sound bad.
Cool.
I can boost 6 dB at 27 kilohertz with a shelf, and it won't sound harsh.
One of the questions I was going to ask later was, is there still some analog gear that there is really no way of achieving the same thing with plugins? And I think the tour now sort of answers that question. Obviously, you must feel that you still get something from them that you're not going to get purely from plugins, right?
You got it. That's correct.